Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this session. This is the secret sauce session. You guys heard all the AI stuff and machine learning intelligence. Me and Eric Baird from AWS, we're going to start seeding the seeds of how do we actually enable doing all those cool things using the power of cloud. So I think it's one of the very important sessions which actually starts peeling on the how part of getting to that level of intelligence in GRC. So again, my name is Vidhya Phalke. I head MetricStream Cloud, innovation practices, and so on and so forth. I will be joined on the stage by Eric Baird from AWS, who is our partner in the second half of this conversation. Would like to keep it interactive, but this is really the exciting times for us because we have started to ask questions on how we can embed AI in GRC, how we can bring value-added services in GRC so that you can enable your customers, your businesses to preserve, protect, and perform better. So the title is Accelerating GRC by the Power of Cloud, but essentially it's more about MetricStream GRC in cloud plus AWS. How does that 1 + 1 becomes 3? And that's what we want to start expanding upon in this conversation. And it, of course, cannot start without at least getting into a little bit of foundation of what GRC cloud is. Some of you are perhaps MetricStream GRC cloud customers, some are not. And so I'll spend a little bit of time explaining that. I'll spend a little bit more of time on what are the foundational services that you need in GRC cloud so that you can really do the bare bones minimum that's needed in GRC. And then we'll pick up on how AWS can really help us take to the next level of insights using GRC. So just to paint a picture, about 4 years ago, MetricStream, who was primarily building GRC software, we had to start thinking about, we really need to adopt cloud. That ship was sailing much faster than the world was looking at. And we had to think about, well, our customers are still using application software in their own data centers, so really need to think about how we can bring the best of breed world of on-premise, your own data center software, but still do it in cloud. So 3 things were very clear from us from the get-go. Customers want performance, service level agreements, that core capability of being able to respond quickly to business. You can't wait for pages to take forever or application not to be available. Second, they wanted security, which is totally unsurpassed in terms of just the kind of confidential information that is stored in GRC systems. It is your risk assessments, it's your risk registers, it is your incident management, and so on and so forth. And finally, you still want the pace at going at your own speed. You don't want to be hampered by saying, well, the cloud provider has just switched from version X to X + 1, X + 2. You don't have any control on it. So these were the 3 core tenets of cloud that we thought about. And we said, well, for GRC cloud, all these 3 are equally important. And that's how we envisioned and we architected MetricStream Cloud, what we call as a multi-instance cloud, and I'll explain that in a bit. Think about it as software as a service. You're thinking you're hitting a website, an application, and that's a service you're getting. But behind the scenes, what you really want is you as customer 1 doesn't want to be impacted by customer 2 or whatever they are doing, or customer 3 or customer 4, and so on and so forth. What you really want is have your own space in cloud so that you can run at your own pace, as well as you can pick and choose your time of expanding your use cases and so on and so forth. So what we did is, and I'll come to the technology bits in a minute as well, is we envisioned what we call as a container strategy. What it really means is that as a customer, when let's say your bank XYZ, if you bank xyz.metricstream.com, when you hit that link, that full resources behind it, entire set of system-side resources that you need, your web servers, your databases, your Elasticsearch, your backups, your connectors, that is all dedicated just for you. So customer 1 has a complete blueprint dedicated to them. Customer 2 has their own, customer 3, and so on and so forth. But the trick is to really make it work at scale. Otherwise, we just become an ASP or a hosted company. So that's where we put a lot of our thinking behind to say that we can create these blueprints, one for each customer. They can expand, collapse those as they need, as their business requirements keep evolving. They need to bring in more GRC use cases, expand their user footprint, and so on and so forth. So that containerization was step 1. What it also does is that the whole notion of security as well as being in your local area, I mean, geographic constraints, you know, the European regulations, Canadian, US, and so on and so forth. Now that you have the full stack, including the data behind it, the entire GRC data, you can go around, be in whatever geography you want to be. So that whole capability is foundational in the way we envision GRC cloud, and that's the modern SaaS or modern software as a service that we have rolled out in GRC. There are other companies which are following suit. I can talk offline about those, but others have started to adopt this multi-instance strategy as well. So that's a little bit about, you know, what the GRC cloud is all about. But then when you start going next steps, like how does it really speed up things for us? You know, you're using some application somewhere out there in the cloud, but can I really do the kind of things I used to be able to do on-premise? I used to just pick up the phone, call my IT guy, add some things, subtract some things, and so on and so forth. Can that also happen? So those are the kind of core tenets that you see on the screen that we have put together, is that all the GRC applications on the left-hand side, your risk management, compliance, your policy management, and so on and so forth, those are all applications are containerized. On the other hand, on cloud, what we do is the core tenets that we think about, you know, you need to be able to provision. You need to be able to add more applications. You need to be able to expand some of the use cases. You need to add more users, move them around, and so on and so forth. And very large-scale change management program that need to be initiated, that all can be done in MetricStream GRC cloud extremely effectively. To give you some examples, in terms of just the ability to add, subtract changes that you want to make in your applications. Say, perhaps new reports need to be put in together, or a set of new rules need to be put together on how the workflow operates. All that is part and parcel of the provisioning process that is part of MetricStream GRC cloud. A little bit of technical details. Those who are technical wonks in this crowd. Behind the scenes, we use technologies such as Docker and Kubernetes. They're all natively available on Amazon Cloud. But essentially, what it provides is a way to containerize one customer separately from the other, as well as have the flexibility to elastically expand. So towards the end of the quarter, you need more resources. You need more disk space, more memory, or what have you. That can be provisioned on the fly. And then, as needed, you can start doing things load balanced. More users get added. You know, you have the elastic framework of the cloud to keep expanding and contracting as you see fit. In terms of configuration and change management, so in M7 and MetricStream Cloud, what we have rolled out is a very sophisticated mechanism to think about how you go about managing change. You have to think about, in cases you are making personalization changes, you are doing basic configuration, you're doing whole set of extensions and customizations if you need to, but that whole methodology is thought through in GRC Cloud so that it can be done effectively and efficiently for your businesses and in a manner that scales with your business. So those were kind of like the brass tacks. We went over how the multi-instance strategy of MetricStream gives you all your MetricStream applications in the cloud with performance scalability, with the ability to manage change, with the security and privacy controls that you need. And then the next is the part of just doing the bare bones basics, right? So this is all brass tack stuff to be able to provision, to be able to add more applications, to be able to make change management work at scale. Now you get into the exciting part, and that's where I'll ask Eric to join in a second, is that you start thinking that, listen to all the conversation yesterday and today, right? You put all the GRC constructs in a database. You got your risk programs, you got your audit programs. Many years, in some cases, you have bring in legacy data from previous GRC programs. So now you have a rich repository of data. Now, because you are on this journey with us on GRC Cloud, as of today, we can start enabling things like Tableau for visualization. That's available as of late last year. So that's one option using which you are empowered, enabled to start extracting information out of MetricStream. You don't have to depend on MetricStream as long as you're using MetricStream GRC Cloud. To give you another example, at the back end of it, using Amazon, we have rolled out what is known as virtual public cloud. So that's a secure sandbox way of taking MetricStream instances and tying it up with your on-premise instances or your other AWS properties so that you can make real-time integrations behind the scenes possible with all the other applications that are running. You can also have that confidence that the security umbrella envelope is all cohesive across all these different footprints that you have. S3 is a well-known Amazon property. You can, I don't know, Eric will tell me it's petabytes or whatever. You can just expand the space and storage requirement as you see fit for your GRC use cases. And lastly, we have rolled out, or we're almost rolling out, our hardware-based security constructs as well, because there are some of our customers which are even much more conscious about security and key management, and together with Amazon, we provide that capability. So I'll just leave you with my one last slide about the kind of things that we have started to put our roadmap on. So it's an early session. There's a whole set of things that AWS offers. I don't want to go into the list on the screen, but from the fact that it is globally available, data centers are all over the world, to the fact that it can be expanded, contracted, whole set of capabilities around security, as well as whole bunch of things around analytics, and that's where we can expand on all the discussions yesterday and this morning, is about all this data is in MetricStream. I don't know how many of you are in the previous conversation, but then you really need to start making sense out of it almost in a machine learning and AI sort of way. So that's where we see the power of this partnership really unleashing immediate use cases, if you will, and over time, more broader footprint. And we can flow that back into MetricStream GRC as and when required with your programs and business cases. So I'll pause here for questions. Otherwise, I'll have Eric continue with some more details on the specific use cases around AWS products and tools that are available. Any questions? Or we can take it at the end. Okay, thanks, Eric.
All right.
The clickers.
Thanks. Oh.
Yeah.
I think I got your glasses too. Glasses.
So M7 is, so to repeat the question.
Well, how long has this offering been available, and is this available with M7 only?
So everything before this, the slide prior is available now. So I don't know, Manoj, you might know currently what 30% of our customer in M7 are pretty much on MetricStream Cloud.
Are on what?
On MetricStream Cloud, yes.
Yeah, I'm with Fannie Mae, and we're on MetricStream Cloud. It's private cloud, software as a service.
Yeah.
This sounds like platform as a service. Is this platform as a service or SaaS?
No, this is MetricStream. No, this is still software as a service, and Amazon capabilities are being brought in as needed for our customers.
So there's a layer connecting you over to Amazon services.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
That's the right way to look at it. Okay. Thank you. Question?
Question over here?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a question around security of the data that's sitting in the cloud, right? So are we using encryption? Who's holding the keys? Is it shared, like I hold the key, you hold the key, or I exclusively have the key? what happens when data needs to be destroyed as far as key destruction and all that.
So the question was encryption in the cloud, who holds the keys, and data retention, and so on and so forth. So MetricStream, all data encrypted at rest in transit. The keys are held by MetricStream Cloud Operations, but there is an option. We talked about what's the third product? There's an Amazon product which allows you to even hold the keys to the customers. So some of our customers are opting in for that. So both options are available. Typically depends on the confidentiality and the kind of levels of secrecy around that data, and both the options are available. But by and large, customers look at MetricStream's internal controls and those of our data center partner, and usually are okay with that level of diligence. Okay, over to you, Eric.
Okay, thank you, Vidhya. Hello, my name is Eric Beard. I am a solutions architect with Amazon Web Services. Today, I'm going to be talking a bit about the reporting and analytics capabilities that AWS brings to the table. When we use tools like MetricStream and a lot of the building block services that AWS provides, those audit and compliance tools tend to generate a lot of data. So we need to be able to view that data, analyze it, understand it. Those of us who have been in the industry for a while, when we think about reporting services, we generally think about a big, expensive data warehousing appliance. We'll have some sort of visual BI tool like Tableau sitting on top of it. And we're bringing data into that data warehouse from a variety of systems, the ERP system, your CRM, your relational databases. And so you have to format all of that data for the data warehouse. It's generally a very flat and rigid schema. It's sort of analogous to a really big spreadsheet maybe with billions of rows in it. And those kind of systems are generally very, very costly to purchase and to set up and to maintain. So in the cloud, obviously we have some new options. So Amazon's data warehousing solution is called Amazon Redshift. So Redshift is a fast, fully managed, easy to use data warehouse, runs in the cloud, allows you to run standard SQL against all of this structured data, and you can fit petabytes of data into Redshift if you have to. And the fact that it runs on standard SQL means that you can hook any of your favorite BI tools up to it. If you like to use Tableau, you can hook Tableau directly to Redshift. Amazon also we have our own visual BI tool that we offer called Amazon QuickSight, which is a very easy to use and low cost option. Something we just announced a few days ago is pay per session pricing for QuickSight. So you can literally just only pay while somebody's logged in running reports, and then you're not paying for idle users. And Redshift also has a very good compliance story. We've got SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, FedRAMP, HIPAA, PCI DSS, so that you can use Redshift and still meet these compliance obligations. So, data lakes. What is a data lake? I'm sure that this is a term a lot of you have heard a lot. Recently, it's a very hot marketing term. If you ask 5 different people, what's a data lake, you're probably going to get 5 different answers. And if you go and look at 5 different data lake solutions, you're probably going to see 5 different solutions. There are some data lake products out on the market. If you look under the hood of those products, really they're generally a collection of storage options and services. So essentially a data lake is a centralized repository, a place for you to store both structured and unstructured data. So we have the data warehouse on the left that has this very tabular structured data, and now the data lake allows us to have one single place where we can go and put all of that unstructured data that we would like to analyze as well. So on AWS, the foundation of our data lake offering is S3. S3 is Amazon's simple storage service. It's an object store that lets you store virtually unlimited amounts of data. really. You can put as much as you want to. If you need to store exabytes of data, we will make that happen. And we've actually got some very creative ways for you to get your data into S3 if it's on premises. So we have an appliance called a Snowball. It's about the size of one of these speakers. It's just sort of a hardened box that we'll ship to you. It can store about 80 terabytes of data. You put all your data on it, you ship it back to us, we load it into S3 in your account. If you have more data than that, we have something called Snowmobile, and this is pretty cool. It's an 18-wheeler full of those things. We drive that to your data center with an armed guard. You fill all those devices full of your data, and then we drive it back to an Amazon data center, put all the data in S3. So if you are looking to migrate into S3, we've got lots of good ways to help you do that. So S3, I could, whoops, let's see here. I could talk for a long time about S3. It really is a fantastic service. I think one of the other things that I wanted to highlight about it, though, I attended part of that last session on using AI with GRC, and there was some kind of brainstorming on what are some of the different ways we might start applying AI to our compliance and auditing efforts. So Amazon's got a service that not many people have heard about called Amazon Macy. So Macy is, first off, it's a data classification service. So you can run it against your environment, and S3 is its main target. And it goes through and it will look at all your data and classify it for you and say, okay, this data's got personally identifiable information in it, this data doesn't. But then the other really neat thing it does is it monitors access and usage of that data and points out anomalies. So, let's say you have an administrative login, and usually that administrative login is just used to, look at some web logs every now and then. But then all of a sudden that login starts downloading huge amounts of customer data. That's something where if a human had the time to look at all the logs of everything that's happening in your account, would go, that's funny. Well, so we're using artificial intelligence to look at all that data and go, hey, that's funny, and alert someone to the fact that there's some behavior here that doesn't look like it's normal. So the next thing that I'd like to talk about is Amazon EMR, Elastic MapReduce. Some of you may have heard the term Hadoop or Spark. These are big data analysis systems. So Amazon has a fully managed Elastic MapReduce that allows you to run Hadoop, Apache Spark, HBase, Presto. You can interact with a variety of data sources like S3 and DynamoDB. So I have a personal story to tell here. Several years ago, when I was the CTO at a company called Autoloop, this is before I came to Amazon, we decided that we wanted to put together a big data solution to do big data analytics on a huge amount of automotive customer data. So, and we were running in our own data center on premises. So, I designed the system. I spend, a couple of weeks haggling on the phone with Dell to work out prices for the equipment, going back and forth with the CEO to agree on some quotes. Finally procure the hardware. It takes a couple of weeks to arrive. And then, I grab one of my sysadmins, we go to the data center, we slide everything into the rack, get it installed. That takes a couple of days. And then we spent months working on our ETL processes, extract, transform, and load, to actually get data into that cluster so that we could actually start analyzing it. And we got some good data out of it. We got some good reports, but ultimately we decided, this isn't quite the right tool for us. So we spent months of time and probably what amounted to several $100,000 in equipment and development costs, basically to do an experiment, to kind of make the next step in our evolution with our reporting system. If we had been in the cloud and I had done that with Amazon EMR, all of that could have been compressed to weeks and could have saved us a lot of money. So, machine learning. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, AI and ML, definitely very hot buzzwords right now for the last couple of years. Amazon has been heavily investing in artificial intelligence for more than 20 years. It's foundational to the way that many of our services run, from the path optimization algorithms in the fulfillment centers, when you order goods from Amazon, to the recommendation engine on Amazon.com, and the Echo device with Alexa. It was just a few short years ago, just a few years ago, that some of the leading AI and ML experts said far field voice detection, like we do with the Echo, it's not possible. You cannot do that right now with current hardware. We're nowhere close to having the hardware we need to solve that problem. But we figured that out, and now we have the Echo device that works actually very well. So we have, as you see, it's a bit of a busy slide, but we have several layers of abstraction for our machine learning offerings. At the very top, we have our application level ML offerings that are really basically just APIs that kind of do all that work for you. So we have recognition for recognizing image and videos. We have Poly and Lex. And then as we move down the stack, we have our managed platform services. And then at the bottom, we have our frameworks and infrastructure. So we have an AMI, which is an Amazon machine image for our EC2 instances that you can use that comes preloaded with all of the popular AI and ML frameworks. We try to be very agnostic at Amazon when it comes to which frameworks you can use. We're not trying to pigeonhole you into using just one. So if you want to use TensorFlow, that's great. If you want to use Apache MXNet, that's great. You can use PyTorch and Cafe2 if you want to. So machine learning, it turns out, is hard. It's really hard. First, you have to wrangle all of that data. You have to deal with what could be petabytes of data. Where am I going to put it? How am I going to structure it? How am I going to get it into a format that my data scientists can actually use? Then you have to train your models. You have to start working on your predictive algorithms and train those models and tune them to get them to actually make accurate predictions. And then the final thing you have to do is you have to deploy those models to production. And what I mean by that is that you may have a data scientist that's got a predictive model on their laptop, or maybe it's connected to your analytics cluster, but that doesn't mean that you can put that prediction into a mobile phone or on the website. You actually have to move that model somewhere that you can actually use it. So I have experience with this as well. I managed a data science team at Autoloop, and we had this problem. We got to the point where I had to hire a specialist, a guy who did just that part of the problem, deploying those models. And we came in and we spent months and months developing a system that would enable data scientists to create those models and then deploy them to a place where they could be used in the production application. And I have 6 to 18 months here. That's realistic. From the time that we looked at a data set and said, hey, you know what? I bet if we looked at this data, we could make a prediction, and then we could put that in our application. It took us almost a year to do that. Almost a year. And that's very typical for the industry. So what we did at Amazon is we created a service called Amazon Sagemaker that encapsulates all that work and automates all of it and makes it easy to use. It's a single tool that your data teams can use in the cloud to wrangle all of that data, get that data in a place and in a format that they can actually use it, train the models, tune the models using all those variety of machine learning frameworks, MXNet, TensorFlow. And then, and this I think is the really, really revolutionary part of Sagemaker that I can't emphasize enough, one-click deployment of those models, things that can take months and months and months of effort. Now it's literally, when that data scientist gets that model to where it's making that prediction, it can tell you, hey, what's that stock price going to be tomorrow? What's the weather going to be like tomorrow at 3 o'clock? One click, and that's deployed to a web API that can be easily consumed by any application, mobile application, web application, backend, or what have you.
So I'll just add to what Eric said. I don't know how many of you saw the demo this morning where our MetricStream application, you click a link and instead of getting a whole bunch of huge laundry list of potential actions, the system showed 2 of them. So that machinery, TensorFlow, behind the scenes, we are using these capabilities. And our team was able to put it very quickly together for the demo. So yes, to Eric's point, it really helped us create that use case to showcase for the summit.
And so I can say a few more words about TensorFlow, because I know that is really one of the most popular frameworks that people are interested in using. there was a Nucleus Research report that came out recently, and they were doing a survey to find out how people are using TensorFlow in the industry. They found that 88% of all TensorFlow workloads are running in the AWS cloud. So if you're interested in running TensorFlow, AWS really is the place to be, and they predicted that Amazon SageMaker is going to make a huge impact in reducing the amount of money and the amount of time that's spent in developing these models. So the last thing, if I can get that to go forward. Oh, good. So the last thing that I want to cover is I want to get back to security and compliance for a moment, because that's why we're here. So AWS takes security and privacy very seriously. Security is our absolute top priority. I noticed on the agenda for the conference that on Sunday, that was called Day Zero. So at Amazon, we like to say that security is job zero. It's always the first thing we think about. And some of the most sensitive workloads in the cloud run on AWS. You know, we have customers like FINRA, we have Capital One, the US government with our GovCloud, the CIA trusts Amazon with their sensitive workloads. We also take privacy very, very seriously. Customers always retain full and complete control of their data. We will never look at it. We don't inspect the contents of S3 buckets or instances. We won't move it without your permission. We won't delete it. It's up to you what region you want to store it in. It's up to you if you want to encrypt it. We give you many ways, as Vidhya mentioned, to encrypt your data. You can bring your own keys and keep those on premises if you want to. You can use Amazon Key Management Service. You can use our new Cloud HSM, this hardware security modules. And then you can see we have a wide variety of certifications and accreditations. If it exists out there, we've probably either got it or we're working on it. So, you know, the ISO certs, you know, 27017 for cloud security, 27018 for cloud privacy, in particular, SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, HIPAA, FedRAMP, PCI. And it's not just in the US, it's globally as well. And we're constantly monitoring all of these for changes to make sure if there, you know, are any changes we need to make. And this just really helps, I think, check off a lot of boxes if you come to the AWS cloud to make sure that, you know, your own compliance programs are where they need to be. There's so much now that you really don't have to do because we're handling the physical infrastructure and the physical security of the data centers. And that's all I had for you today. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone? Any questions? Anything?
All right. Thank you for your time. And do catch up with us during breaks or what have you. AWS has a booth in the briefing room. And we are really, as I believe Michael also mentioned, we are really looking to co-innovate with our customers and partners. What are the cases of AI and machine learning that will be relevant for GRC? But what you can see, or at least you got a taste for it, is that how using GRC Cloud and AWS, we are really empowering you as the customer so that you can really start abstracting out the sense of intelligence out of all the hard work your businesses has done in putting all the GRC intelligence in a system of records. So thank you and enjoy the conference.